This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
So, Stugotz, once again, as we're headed into free agency, or we're in the middle of free agency, it's a popular time for us. Stugotz gets in the way of negotiations at every turn, and now he is doing stuff that is allowing us to audition others for his role at our most popular time, our most valuable time. Stugotz is doing the dumb shit that requires us to interview new applicants for his job. Now, I don't think that this guy is available to us anymore. I think he has skyrocketed into the stratosphere and is no longer someone we could have. I think there are times in the last few months or maybe few years that we could have had him. But Adam Lefkoe is the host of the NBA on TNT Tuesdays. They start back up February 2nd. He's skyrocketing, right? Because that show, the best studio show in America for many years now, has gotten older. And so what they've done is they've poured some lifeblood into the youth and the sensibilities with Lefko, with Dwyane Wade. It's a different show than Ernie and Charles and Kenny Smith and Shaq are doing. It's got sort of the vibrancy of youth, and Adam would never say anything bad about that show. That show's the standard. The Barkley, Shaq, Kenny Smith, we all know it's the standard. But Lefko is now rising in this business, but he also, in some ways, learned at our knee in terms of being given permission to do some of the wacky stuff that they do. So we bring in Adam Lefkoe now. Are you too big time now to you're not even auditioning. Would you like to replace Stugotz? You can't do both jobs.
Are you just offering him the job without an audition?
But would he need an audition, Mike? Like at this point,
I'd give it to him.
At this point, let's do it this other way.
Haven't I already taken it? Did I not come on your program and announce myself as the Stugotz now? Didn't that already happen?
Years ago.
So if anything, this is an affront to my sensibilities, Dan, to be honest. I thought I had it.
Okay, well, I don't think you should have to audition either, frankly.
Also, who is this bearded person that I'm staring at? Supposedly Stugotz. Is this Stugotz in Castaway? Which Tom Hanks was in, and then he was in that other movie, On the Stugotz Now, full circle. Thanks a lot, Stugotz.
Okay, so he wants the job. Well, at what point?
And I want his job, so how about a little job swap?
I learned from sitting next to Shaquille O'Neal that you cannot have too many jobs. That's what we're going for.
I don't think you can do both of these, though. What is your schedule like now, or not now, but soon? How crazy is it going to be? You're going to have to move to Atlanta and get immersed in pandemic quarantine basketball?
I am going in about a week and a half. I'm bringing my fiance with me. This is my schedule. I am going down there. I still have to do all my other Bleacher Report stuff in addition to the Tuesday show. And then I cannot come back to New York for the extent of the 13 shows that we're doing, the 4 or 5 months. And then when I return, I get married 9 days later. Right. So it is, you know all about that. So my 2021 is about to be wild.
Well, be careful. That first year of marriage is the most difficult year of marriage.
It is.
Okay? It is not.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
You'll find out
I want Stugotz's advice on that.
Well, you'll find out very quickly whether this thing is going to sink or swim. Okay,
wow.
We'll see.
Okay.
What's an attribute of a sink marriage?
Is working way too hard in that first year of marriage and not paying nearly enough attention to your wife, which is what you would be doing if you took my job and continued in your current job.
Actually, Lefko, you should know, okay, the reason that we escalated to this point, right, is with the freedoms we have been given, and you will be mortified by this, because I believe you can be a better Stugotz than Stugotz because you won't make these kinds of mistakes. The reason that you are in this position to replace Stugotz right now is because we're coming off a segment in which we just got done discussing how often he leaves stained underwear for his wife in the laundry, and beyond that, he then said during the conversation with his wife, he told her, essentially, make me better sandwiches. So he sent he sent her to the kitchen, like laundry and kitchen. 2021, fresh off the Me Too movement, he's on air sending his wife to the kitchen to make him sandwiches after staining underwear in a conversation about laundry. I don't mean to insult you, but that's the reason this job is presently available to you, is because he did that in the last segment, Lefko, and I don't think that's something you would ever do, either in the laundry or on air.
That has to be a generational thing, where like I have never expected my fiance to touch my laundry. I like, let alone leave. You have stains in your underwear is my first question.
Yeah.
Do you use wet wipes?
Yeah,
like there's a lot of ways
listen,
we don't get to that result.
Here's why you can never be me, because you have them, but you do. We all do. Okay, we've all had those days, right?
He's right. Admit it, Lefko.
Admit it, Lefko.
You're a bad ally.
No.
Chris turned on me real quick.
No, but he's a bad ally for Stugotz to have on this, because Roy is like everyone else here rides with, hey, clean underwear. That's pretty easy. It's only Cody's kid that is riding with Stugotz.
Right. Well, it's only me and Chris that are telling the truth. That's what's happening here. And really, part of this job is just laying
if it ever happened to me, I think I might throw him out, because underwear is like $5, and you don't have to hold on to these pieces of cloth for years.
Right.
These are not seminal moments you're going to pass down to your kids, Stugotz.
We got you. We got you. If
you can get a 3-pack for
happened.
$6.
Right, if it ever happened. I know. But listen,
Okay.
It does happen, and I just throw them in the laundry. I leave that to my wife to decide whether she wants to throw them away or not, depending on how
So
bad
does
the
she
stain
walk
is.
out like you have killed an animal and is like, what is this?
No. Well, she just got
They
done.
just go away, Lefko.
She got done telling us that she just throws it. She doesn't actually look at the hard truths. She just throws it somewhere else, and someone else handles it because Stugotz is paid very well. And so it's not his wife who's actually doing the laundry. It's somebody else. But that she's not actually inspecting the damage. She just knows that it's there.
Right.
However, a sandwich does sound delicious. So if she's making extras, I will take one. That sounds great.
So you shouldn't have to audition for this job. But in all seriousness, how many months ago, if we had called you and said, hey, Lefko, do you want to replace?
I'm still interested. I'm very interested in it.
And I'm still interested in yours. I mean, I don't think I haven't tried to get it.
This is behind the scenes thing. I will never forget getting to go down there with Sims to finish off the incredible Sims 69, 70 quarterback Sims list and seeing the universe that you guys had there. And I think that part of the reason why I love NBA on TNT is when you go backstage, that's when you realize why the show works, because there's an energy and there's a love for each other. That's not just the people on camera. It's from like Ernie down to like the makeup person to the janitor. Everybody's cool. And you guys have that. And so if I can be in two universes at one time, in essence, the Thanos of sports media, I am just accumulating rings. And then eventually one day, you won't even hear about
Mike.
Stugotz.
He'd be a good Stugotz. We can't dispute that, right? In terms of, because he's also very smart, so he could do the act as an improv guy and also give us the high-end smart stuff, so that every time I started talking about, rifle-toting militia on the Kentucky Capitol lawn, I could actually talk to somebody about it, as opposed to where we end up, which is Stugotz going back to shit stains in his laundry.
Dan, this is a dream candidate because he's got all the Northeast fandom. Like, he can fan out with you. He can do the Stugotz things, but he's evolved. He also has brilliant social commentary. He's hip. He's young. He has cool, influential friends. Adam Lefkoe is an upgrade.
And
What?
we won't have to talk about the Jets.
What? Mike, you're insulting both Stugotz.
We don't have to talk about but we
Yeah.
have to swap the Jets for Eagles.
But you'll never be able to
Yeah,
talk
a lot
about
of
shit
Eagles
stains.
talk.
I mean,
Mike, that is wrong what you just did. The audience is going to feel like you're you're disrespecting. An upgrade is saying something. You could say with no insult to Lefko that he might be able to do the job as well as Stugotz, but to say it's an upgrade.
oh no, he'd
is-
do it better.
No, Dan, I've been married to Stugotz for 18 years, and you know what they say. The 18th year is the hardest year of marriage.
He'd do it more honestly.
Married? Is Mike the one doing the laundry?
With
Are you
timeout.
cleaning?
I'm cleaning
The
up.
shit
I'm
stains,
cleaning
Mike?
up my host shit for 18 years.
Wait, Chris, Dan has him doing it more honestly when Lefko can't even admit to a shit stain. I mean,
Seriously, what are you talking about?
You just made Lefko spit out some of his drink.
I
there.
almost spit
that's because I'm
everywhere.
good at what I do, Lefko. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I've never spit out anything when you're talking on
Look,
the air.
I do not
Yeah,
underestimate.
we know it comes out the other end. That's the issue.
Well played.
That was good too.
You're good.
He is good.
are good.
He is good. Lefko, how has Dwyane Wade been? Like, I can't imagine how quickly you've fallen in love with that guy, because he is such a sweet person. It's kind of strange to see his level of stardom and his specific touch with people. Like, you will not find anybody, well, his ex-wife, but you won't find many people who have anything bad to say about that dude.
The first time that I ever met him, it was at like a dinner, and he was asking me a lot of questions. And I was sitting there going, why are you talking to me so inquisitive? Like, why do you care what I have to say? The other thing I'll say is I learn a lot about people by doing television and doing productions with them and seeing their energy. And the downside of NBA on TNT is when you see Charles and Shaq and Kenny out there and you realize that Ernie is the only one that goes to production meetings to keep everybody else very fresh, that becomes intoxicating for other athletes because they go, if they're not going, I don't have to go. Dwyane Wade has gone to every production meeting. We text all the time. He's always sending me ideas. And so there's like the professional respect that I have for him where he really wants to be good at this. But then there's also the part where I think he's like a 15-year-old kid because he's like, this isn't how kids talk. And he's intelligent, he's kind. And it does make me a little self-conscious. Sometimes when you're around people like that, you actually question your own worth, which is why I'm happy to be on the same screen as Stugotz today to bring myself back up. But Wade's a top-notch.
He does. He makes you want to be a better person. It's all of it, right?
Yes.
It's the way that he's a father to his children. It's all of it. In the absence of a father for himself. And it's the least surprising thing that you could say that he wants to be good at that. And of course, where you find greatness, you will find that kind of will and that kind of intellectual curiosity. He's absolutely mining you for information because you've studied more in this game, but he wants to be better than Charles and Shaq and everyone else at that stuff. And he's going to be able to do high-low with you because it's not just that he won't take himself so seriously. It's that he will do the basketball analysis that'll make it feel smarter, but he'll also do all the goofiness with you because he's going to trust you to lead him into the right places where he can do the goofiness.
He also brings out a different side of Shaq. He brings out an older brother out of Shaq, and he brings out someone that Shaq respects. Shaq will have fun if he respects you. Like that first show, I remember that Shaq 100% was testing me. And I remember sitting there going, I cannot be old, crusty, I got to get to the next segment guy with Shaq. Because if I do that with Shaq, he's never going to have fun. But then I saw the way that he interacted with Wade, and it created a whole new dynamic there that Shaq was telling me stories in the back about when Wade was a rookie and how innocent he was and how him and Gary Payton wanted to go and spend time corrupting him a little bit. But Wade doesn't falter. The only thing with Wade is he's trying to outdo himself fashion-wise every show, and I don't know how crazy. He didn't wear a shirt on the last show. He was showing the chest and all that. So I'm just hoping we don't get like completely naked Dwyane Wade in this next upcoming season.
Lefko, I think me and Mike talked about this last year where I feel like with you and Wade, I am getting a much more comfortable, entertaining Shaquille O'Neal than I am on the Thursday night pregame show with EJ, which is a great job out of you. If you guys are pulling that out of Shaq, he just seems more relaxed with you guys than he does with them.
I think he feels like the elder statesman. And so he feels a lot more sure in his takes. But the other thing is Shaq is trying in his brain to go viral at every moment of the day. And if you can acknowledge that and not fight it, then you can actually get great moments. Otherwise, you're going to get Shaq kind of interrupting and being like, what can I do right now? And on the first show, it was right after the Super Bowl where Shakira looked in the camera and did the tongue thing. And in the commercial break, he goes, you should go viral. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, look in the camera and do the Shakira. And I was like, I cannot do that. Like, that's not what my role is here. He goes, okay. So then the next time he does it, in the commercial break, he shows me his phone and every social media account is sharing this video. And he goes, told you. He has viral brain that, like, if I could do a show with Shaq, it would just be an hour called Shaq Going Viral. And we would just try a different thing every day. That's what his brain does. And so Dan Patrick told me this when I was getting ready for this you want to be John Stockton. Now, I'm a little bit more Stephon Marbury than John Stockton, and I'm trying to work that out. But you're just trying to figure out what everybody else wants, and then you give it to them. And so as long as I give Shaq his moment, we're great. Because I think on the other show, it's Charles is the god.
Sure.
He's the greatest to ever do it. And so Shaq plays off him, where here I feel like he's the featured guy.
What have you had to do to pull back on your Marbury to be more Stockton?
I think studying Ernie. Like, I watch NBA on TNT Thursdays like it's an open book. I take notes. because I see how much statistics and how much preparation he does. And I realize that the backbone of NBA on TNT, while there's all this fun happening, is that when it gets back to Ernie, he's going to let you know where we currently are. And I want to emulate that, and I want to do respect to that. And so because of that, it's not about me. I think the thing that I realized was no one's turning on NBA on TNT Tuesdays to watch Lefko. But if I can do this for a while,
that's an important thing. That is
10
an important thing for you to learn right there. That is something, that is an affliction so many people with television ego or television insecurity never learn. The fact that you've already learned that, you will elevate. Look, the star power around you, Lefko, if you simply make them their best selves, you will absolutely
100%.
have any job you want in this industry.
And I learned it very early on. I was a reporter in Nebraska, and my mom called me and said, "I think you're better than Brian Williams." And I was like, this lady is crazy. And that's when I realized, like, the people around you that are like, man, you're killing it, they don't know what the hell they're watching. They just are happy to see you on TV. And so if you just go on there and go, I am a vessel for all these other people to be great, people will realize about me later on, and I don't need that right now. That's why I'm the anti-Stugotz.
Right.
So maybe I'm not great for the role right now, but that's why I can blend those two together and try to make it
but
happen.
it's so much more fun to be Marbury, though. It's so much more fun to be Stugotz. You don't have to swallow the ego. You could just you can undo your zipper and whip it out.
Yep. That's what I do.
Listen, I have thought about standing on the desk. I have thought about just dancing in the middle and just interrupting D Wade and being like, what do you know? Like, I've thought all of these things.
Well, listen, if you're not ready to be Stugotz, perhaps I can bring Stugotz to you, the original. By the way.
Weren't you supposed to sit out this segment while we were interviewing your replacement?
But we're in my wheelhouse, okay? I pitched an idea to the genius that is Tim Kiley, okay? The executive,
he's the man.
Yeah, he is. He's been on Stupidity, by the way. You have not. You're more than welcome to come on anytime you want. So Kiley was on Stupidity. Now I pitched this great idea to my friend, who's the vice president of Turner Sports, but also he runs the pregame show on Thursdays. I'm not certain if he's the executive producer of your pregame show.
He's like the brains behind NBA on TNT. That, like, any crazy moment was pretty much TK's idea.
Okay, so the idea was this little Chris Felica, the Bear type setup on the Thursday pregame show, where I am off to the side, right? There's a gambling aspect to it. I am just reacting to what the gods are talking about.
You pitched him an idea that involves you being on that show.
Yes. Stunner. No. But this is good because this is proof that you can do both. You can do this show. Lefko, if you do get this job, you can do both, okay? And so what I pitched to him was, I am off to the side. I am doing some gambling, commenting on what the guys are talking about, and just spewing hot takes, okay? Like a little Stugotz Island off to the side. Now, he is working on it. Dan and I are going to have to go on some podcast that he is not aware of until right now, and we're going to pitch the idea with Charles and Ernie. But if Thursday nights does it, if they don't want it, Lefko, I am offering my services to you on Tuesday nights, just so you know.
What is that?
It's a pitch.
No, leave the room like you were supposed to so that I can just talk to the guy who's replacing you for just get out of here. Your amount of self-interest
Can
is
I ask Stugotz a question?
It was
can
for
I
the
ask
show.
One last question before Stugotz gets out of here so that I can interview his replacement, please.
Okay, good.
Stugotz, what if and when I get this role, what do I need to know about Dan to get the most out of Dan in the Stugotz chair?
Very small windows, okay? You have to work in the tiniest windows that you have ever worked in your entire life. So I wouldn't think Marbury. I wouldn't think whoever you transform. I would think Eric Snow, okay? That's what I'd be thinking about, okay?
I squeezed Eric Snow's chest. I was 14 years old. Before a playoff game in the Sixers, he was signing autographs, and I was an idiot kid, and I reached over and I grabbed it, and he stopped signing autographs, and he said, "Who squeezed me?" And he walked off the court, but the Sixers won.
You squeezed his nipple. You squeezed his nipple is what you did.
They got to the finals with that guy.
I did. And that was my first time where I went, I could be the next Stugotz.
I love Stugotz, but in Adam's pitch here, I think Adam could get us Patrick Mahomes because he seems to send him trading cards and they seem to be friendly. So I feel like guest-wise, Lefko has the leg up on who you get.
Wait a minute. Why are you friends with Kelsey and Mahomes? How are you friends with these people?
Mahomes sent me these glasses.
Oh, man.
It's his job.
These are the new Mahomes line that has his statistics on the side.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
I think part of my connection with Mahomes is back when me and Sims were doing the draft. Sims was like, Mahomes is the next Brett Favre. And so in my Stugotz brain, I was like, we're running with this. And we were like talking about Mahomes all the time. Well, you know, video gets to the agents and all that stuff, and he didn't play for the first year. We saw him at the Super Bowl, and nobody was trying to interview him. And so we just hung out with him for a while, and we just kind of made a connection. Also, I think people just kind of like me, which is why I'm a little anti-Stugotz. Also, even though he's a Jets fan, I can also get a Sam Darnold. So, you know.
Okay.
Who wants him?
He's coming with guests. Like he's showing
Do it
off
right
his,
now.
He's showing off his
You're in.
resume.
You're in.
Right.
You want to
Get Mahomes
all
right now.
Go
I'll
ahead
be
and
impressed.
text.
Get him right now.
Let's see if you text a couple of people. We're going to talk to you for about 20 more minutes. Let's see who Lefko could get in the Zoom. Are those Bret Hart glasses? Where
No,
are
those are the Mahomes line, man. With
These are the Mahomes Oakleys.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Lefko was the MVP, the unsung hero of the Katie Nolan pandemic Zoom thing that went viral, speaking of going viral. And I brought in Lefko because I knew he had instant access to these uber famous people. Next thing you know, D Wade's in the Zoom. Then Travis Kelce pops in. Lefko, best friends with all of them.
Shouldn't Lefko, hold on a second. Lefko, if this
Because I don't report news. I don't want to be Schefter. I do not want to be any of these people. I watch these HBO Real Sports where they're like, oh, I'm on my phone all the time, but I make it work. And I'm like, that sounds like the worst existence ever. How about I just hang out with these guys and drink beers and then never tell the secrets that they tell me? That actually, like, I would rather be Ahmad Rashad than Adam Schefter any day of the week.
Okay.
Good point,
Well,
yeah.
let's do this, Adam, if we can. And this is putting you on the spot because I would like in the next 20 minutes for someone to appear in this Zoom with you while we're interviewing you about other things. So now not only do you have to send out a Zoom link, but we'll see how, because Stugotz does a little part of interviewing for this job is that Stugotz, a lot of people don't know this, Stugotz is doing some producing. He's sort of a I don't know, what is the name of the pole where a volleyball spins around the pole? A tetherball? Is it called tetherball?
Tetherball, yes.
Like he's sort of tethering everything here and producing the show while we're talking. Yes, Billy.
Well, no pressure, Lefko, but Stugotz's latest get was Aaron Rodgers. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You got Aaron Rodgers?
I did.
You got him last week. Yeah.
Don't bring that weak
What
shit.
bribe? What bribe did you do?
There was no bribe, just Aaron Rodgers.
You had pictures of him?
No
extortion?
pictures. Nope.
What does Wade?
I'd use them if I had them, but I didn't have to.
I want to talk
unfortunately.
some football with you here because you're very
Okay.
good on the subject of football while you're doing this. But one last question about the show that you do. And you guys need to check out the Lefko podcast wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And you need to watch the NBA on TNT on Tuesdays because they are a very worthy, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but, applicant for heir to that throne, the greatest show in the history of sports television.
It's a great, fun, younger alternative to what they do on
but
on
having
Thursdays.
learned all
It's
the things,
fantastic.
but having
Yeah.
learned all the things from that show and all the things that they've learned in this business, what can Wade do better? And I say this, I don't want it to get back to him as any sort of criticism or insult. What would he acknowledge is something that he could probably get better at that we're going to see him grow?
I think it just comes with time because I think what you realize is there's doing television and then there's happening to be on television. And I think doing television is when you go, here is the A block, here is the B block. We're going to go to Candace, then we're going to go to Wade, and you wait for your turn. And I think the reason that the NBA on TNT is great is Charles doesn't care. He's just going to talk when he has an opinion. And I think that's the next stage for all of us is getting to the point where, like, if you guys could see us backstage when we're just hanging out watching the games and the way we're reacting,
there almost needs to be less prep. Like, television gets in the way of authenticity. It's
100%.
It's all the time, though. It's one of the reasons, Lefko, all the people who gravitate toward our things at ESPN, because it's not like we were actively seeking them out. They're like, what's this thing where I don't have to stand on a marker and go to a production meeting? Like, how can I just go someplace and be my authentic self and have everyone see it?
But Dan, I think they encourage those guys there. I think Lefko's gotten the same encouragement.
Why are you still here?
Well, because Ernie told me this on my podcast, okay, that Kylie just said, hey, throw out the notes, do not look at the prompter, and let the people around you be great and let them respond to you, and you just tie it all together.
That's what Kylie said to me too. And I think it's, look, I was traditional TV for 5-6 years. I went through the traditional path. I was in Nebraska, then I was in Kentucky, and then I went viral with some YouTube stuff where I was like the first one to drop references in a newscast, and I dropped like 40 rap references and 40 wrestling references because I just went, I'm regurgitating my Twitter feed for people over the age of 60. Like, this is a waste of my time. And so you reach a point where you go, how do I create moments? And that's the evolution, I think, is I feel bad for the ESPN halftime show for NBA because I know Jalen Rose has great things to say.
There's no time.
Yeah, they have like 15 seconds. And so for me, it's like if they could really show who they were and really have fun, that would be the evolution of it. But I was watching halftime of the ESPN NFL game, and they spent 70% of the halftime talking about a college football championship. And I was like, why are they even there? And I'm so glad that you said Tim Kiley's name, because he texted me after the first show and was just like, I need you to know that whether or not you had the timing right or whatever, none of that matters. All that matters is that you had a connection with them on stage. And that's what really matters. And so I took a lot from you guys. Dan, your ability when one thing that I've stolen from Dan Le Batard is when he is interviewing somebody and there's this weird moment, Dan goes, what was that? Tell me what that was. And I think it's awesome because it's people's brains going, they were going to say something and then they're retracting it. And you're a very engaged listener. And so I've definitely tried to steal that from you. But the other thing that you guys do so well is when a moment happens, you will throw out the rundown for the moment. And I think a lot of people are too obsessed with executing A to Z instead of getting to C and going, C is the show. Make that the show.
Adam, it's the reason I don't like television. I've never liked television.
It's
it's too confining. It is so hard. I am guessing that your podcast, no matter how much fun you're having with Dwyane Wade and everyone else, I'm guessing it's more fun to have the space to roam in your podcast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I presented an Emmy with Ernie when I first got to Turner. And so I got to spend the whole day with him. And beyond the fact that he's like a saint of a human, and like he'll be the guy that like a janitor is wheeling a trash can and he'll be like, I'll get that for you. And you're like, okay, Ernie, like that's who he is. But I asked him about these production meetings and he was like, yeah, Charles never sits in. And that's when I went to Sims and was like, you're never going to know about the rundown anymore. Like, you're not going to know. We're going to take you on a journey and we're going to see what happens. And I think you have to have that producer brain though, too, where you need to know where you're going. And it's not just, I'm a reader of things on a prompter. I'm very sensitive of being called talent because I think it's kind of a backhanded insult more than anything.
Can you tell us what happened to Russell Wilson? What happened to the Seattle Seahawks?
I was going to text Mina Kimes that exact question yesterday, and I was afraid that I was going to send her into an emotional state. Like, I didn't want her to like rage on me. I texted this to Warren Sharp, my buddy, and he's like, honestly, I don't know. It's as if Brian Schottenheimer planned for the first 5 weeks of the year and then was like, whoop, figured it out, and then never adjusted the rest of the year. But I agree. It's as if the offensive scheme didn't make sense, but at the same time, he looks completely not confident anymore. It all evaporated these last few weeks of the year. Also, I think it's compounded by the Rams have owned the Seahawks and Russell Wilson for the last 4 or 5 years. I think that there's something like 80 to 85% in terms of wins. They sacked him 11 times in the 2 games before yesterday. But the best thing that happened to Aaron Rodgers was that he got hurt for a year and they fired everybody. The worst part with Russell Wilson is even when they had a down year, they kept everybody and said, we're going to change some things. And I think that Russell has been carrying people for far too long. And I don't think it's Pete Carroll, but that's up for debate. But they need to get in a younger offensive mind because Brian Schottenheimer has never been the guy. Stugotz even knows about that.
Yes or no, Aaron Donald is the best defensive player ever?
No.
LT.
LT and Reggie White were the first two names that came to my mind. I think Aaron Donald can keep going. Remember, we said the same thing about J.J. Watt 5 years ago, where J.J. Watt was up for MVP and had like 20 sacks.
Yeah, but Donald's the only one doing it from the middle. Like all the guys you mentioned, none of them are doing it through double teams up the middle.
Yeah, J.J. was a little bit, but Aaron Donald, I think it's all about length of time and all that, but I would put LT, I'm going to agree with Stugotz just because I was reading Bill Walsh's book, and it's like when you realize that the Bill Walsh offense was built because of LT and all the rule changes, it's just another level of human out there. I'm working on it. So Kelsey would not be good enough because you got Rodgers?
No, Kelsey would be good enough.
Yeah, he's not as good as Rodgers, but
it's a start. It's a start.
Yeah,
we'll take Kelsey. If Kelsey wants to call in, we'll take Kelsey. And look, Billy, of course, Billy, have you gotten such good guests lately that you have to make the standard Aaron Rodgers?
I'm doing this for you, Danny. You want to settle for Travis Kelce? Okay, we can do that.
Well, Travis Kelce's a good guest to get.
Holmes in play here.
I mean, Kelsey's probably the MVP. He could be the MVP of the NFL this year, right?
I mean, Kelsey, doesn't he lead the league in receiving?
Does Dwyane Wade like you, or I be getting?
Yeah, no, I think we're good with Dwyane Wade, aren't we? I think we are.
No idea. Debatable.
And ran him out of town.
So you're going to get Wade and Kelsey. That equals an Aaron Rodgers, perhaps?
Am I allowed to tell Dwyane Wade I was on the show, or is that going to fracture my relationship?
No, do this, Lefko. Say I'm on with Dan Le Batard right now. Are you cool with that show, or are you not cool with that show? You can ask him, because I think we're good. There was some stuff at the end. I would actually like to have this conversation with Dwyane Wade. I don't know whether he wants to have it on the air or not, but I've reached out to him a few times and heard back from him in a way. I mean, he's warm and he's a good person, but he doesn't like how it ended the first time in Miami, and some of that I think gets put on me because of my relationship with Pat Riley.
I am told here by Roy in the chat that Wade sent a very nice tweet out on our departure away from ESPN about the show. So perhaps
not highly questionable, but it's the same.
Okay. I thought it was about me.
I think look, the way it ended with Pat Riley, I know wasn't great. I know he didn't like it, but Wade, as you've mentioned, is very introspective, and I feel like he's had time to think about it. And I think he realizes that business is business, and I think he's cool now with Pat.
I think we're cool now too, but I haven't other than tweeting back and forth with him.
I think Adam just let us know. We'll find out if we're cool or not.
Okay, we'll find out. We'll all find out together.
Where'd you leave it with Kelsey, by the way? I mean,
you got the Zoom link, right? You're good.
I'm working on it. He's
Lefko
got
thinks
the
like
Browns
a producer
coming out.
No, listen, I know what he has coming up, but I feel like I'm going to end up booking him for you. If you want to tell him, okay, I am very friendly with Andrew, his personal trainer down here in South Florida.
What are you doing?
XPE.
Just get out of the segment.
It will land the plane, Dan.
Stugotz, just get out of the segment.
It will land the plane.
I would like for you to land in a plane outside of this studio as I interview your replacements.
I'm just trying to help get Kelsey.
I'm trying
to help my replacement replace me.
I think Sims would be a good Stugotz. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Sims
went ghost on me.
Why are you still here? Will you please leave? Please leave. I wasn't joking. Just please leave for a few minutes so that I could talk to Adam Lefkoe for a second.
Someone famous might show up.
Yeah, but just get out of here. You could come back when someone famous shows up. Please close the door behind you and let me talk to him.
All right.
Thank you.
Ooh, I got a wild card I'm going to try here.
See, this is very exciting.
Sorry.
No, football questions. Tom Brady. What are we to expect from Tom Brady the rest of the way? He just won a game, but he won a game he never had to play in New England. He's on the road. It's the first round. He doesn't get a bye. They beat a bad football team in Washington. Tom Brady, that team goes only as far as Tom Brady is excellent, correct?
Oh, 100%. I would also say compare the over 40-year-old quarterbacks from what we saw this weekend. Drew Brees, Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady. Other than the Tom Brady, George Blanda photo, which I would have sent to Cody as the funniest thing of the weekend, he doesn't even look like he's in the same age bracket as those guys. Also, the way that you beat the Buccaneers that we saw earlier this year was spread them out and throw. So Kansas City did it. Los Angeles Rams did it. They played the perfect team for Tampa Bay's defense to look somewhat okay with Heineke and all that. Now they're taking on the Saints. I think that Tom Brady with this offense, if everybody is healthy, they were my dark horse. Maybe they make a run, but they got to pray that they don't have to go to Lambeau in 2 weeks. If somehow the Rams and that defense can upset Green Bay, I think Tampa Bay could be going to the Super Bowl. I really do. But they did beat the Packers big time earlier this year. It kind of felt fluky. Aaron Rodgers, it was like the weirdest game of the season for him. But I do find it very odd that Belichick is out. Donald Trump apparently is offering him like some presidential medal right now. And if he accepts it, like the world is going to turn on him. And at the same time, Tom Brady is doing what he always does. I have always been a Belichick over Brady guy. But right now, the tide seems to be turning. Because we talked about this was the legacy year. If Brady makes a run without Belichick, does it change the way that you've looked at the last 20 years of that Patriots regime at all? At all? I mean, does coaching matter as much? We just saw the Browns beat the Steelers with Kevin Stefanski in a basement. I thought NFL was the league where coaching was supposed to be the most important thing of all time.
I've had Tom Brady on my podcast. Have you?
Get out of here, please.
I did.
You did the big slamming door, and you came back for that.
He did.
He did. There he is again.
Yeah, I did. I had Tom Brady and Peyton
Lefko would be so much
one.
better than
You had
Stugotz
them together. You had I'll let Stugotz know.
Yeah, go ahead and tell
please,
Stugotz
please,
that.
let
He
him
thought
know.
he was coming in here. He thought he had the winning hand. He
Stugotz.
slammed the door again.
He had Brady and Manning together.
Yeah, Brady and Manning together. We got to get Lefko to replace Stugotz. Lefko, Aaron Rodgers. What do you make of? What do you make of Aaron Rodgers and the season that he's had?
When they drafted Jordan Love, this is what we all hoped for, that there was going to be so much anger and so much vitriol and so much of the intelligence that we see from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is like a laser beam of focus. And to have turned that perceived slight into another 13-3 season, getting the only bye in the first round of the playoffs for the NFC, and to have a quarterback connection with Devontae Adams that I believe is number one in the NFL. This is what I've always been wondering. I messed up and I wrote off Aaron Rodgers. I did not have the Green Bay Packers making the playoffs this year. I'm happy to admit my faults. But I know that, Dan, I feel like you're as fascinated. I got somebody. Okay, I need the Zoom link. Can I have the Zoom link?
Uh-oh, he's ensnared someone. Stugotz,
But we're not going at
You want me to text it?
Is it Mahomes? Is it Mahomes? Because I'm right here.
I just told you it's not sports. We're going to go out. We're going to go a little bit different.
All right, that's fine.
So
Continue
I'll wait
your
on the
point,
link here
though.
from Mike. Are you texting it to me?
Yeah, I'm going to text it to you.
What size fish are we talking here, Adam?
I don't know if you're going to like him. We're going to find out. Oh, he's got meetings. Hold on. We're going to see if this works. Okay, we can do this.
This is a very, very exciting
Okay,
time.
but Dan, I know that you're equally as fascinated with Aaron Rodgers' brain as I am. And I had always wondered, I don't know how long he wants to play because I feel like, but I also don't know what he's going to do after he gets done playing in the NFL. Like, where do you think Aaron Rodgers goes when he's done?
It's an excellent question because I've met a number of people that I thought were uniquely qualified to put down the athlete's identity, the gladiator identity, whether it's Robert Smith or John Amici or Shane Battier, and every last one of them says when they leave the arena, they think they're equipped for it because they're worldly, they're different, and then they look around and they're like, whoa, there is nothing in real life that replaces what Sundays feel like. There is nothing in real life that replaces what that locker room feels like. Nothing. And so I don't know what he could possibly do that would give him the same kind of juice that Sundays do.
Your conversation with John Amici, by the way, was phenomenal. And I watched him talking about privilege. I watched that clip like 3 times. But I interviewed Antoine Bethea last week because he just retired. And so he's got the link. So, okay. And he just retired. And he was like, the biggest issue for me, I'd like to introduce you guys to my good buddy, old pal, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V here with the Le Batard Show. Gary, I just want you to say, screw Stugotz. That's the main reason you're here.
Careful, Gary.
Screw Stugotz, as simple as that.
No, you're here for more than that. I love you.
Can I talk about my feelings when I see that the 4 AFC quarterbacks that are left were passed by my New York Jets in back-to-back drafts when we needed quarterbacks? And the sheer anger and 0.0 happiness I have for Browns or Bills fans. Like 0.0. Actually, negative happiness for Cleveland and Buffalo. Disdain, could care less about 25 years this and 1994 that. Like, am angry and wish that both teams lose desperately this week.
I love Lefko. What I love here is that in the interview to replace Stugotz, you have now found the person to replace me, so that they can finally do the
whole new show.
They can finally do the Jets show, so that they can counter program against Mike Greenberg, Bart Scott, and Keyshawn Johnson, so they can counter program with Jets coverage.
And by the way, I'll take this advantage. Congratulations on an incredible execution. You know, unfortunately, I work 24/7, so I haven't been able to consume as much as if I was 20 years younger. But it's been really fun to watch from day one since I pay attention to all this stuff. And congratulations.
I mean, I love it. Thank you. Who is this guy?
You guys should be talking Jets right now.
Well,
I don't know how you're back in the room again.
What I was going to tell Gary was, Gary, you know how this works as a Jet fan. Had we drafted those quarterbacks, they'd be out of the NFL right now, okay? And if those other teams drafted Darnold be in a divisional playoff game right now. So that's how it works.
Here's what is not talked about anywhere close to enough. Mike McCagnon is the worst football GM. He makes Idzik look like Wolf. Like, to me, listen, Josh McCown may be my favorite human on earth. However, when he's your quarterback coming into the season and you're the Jets and it is a quarterback league and Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes are on the board and you decide to not only take a safety, but then, this is the best part, you then take a safety in the second round. And by the way, Marcus May is my favorite New York Jet. However, in an offensive NFL where you don't have a quarterback, they decided to go safety. And listen, I love Jamal as a dude. Sitting courtside at Knicks games with him was some of the most fun. I love the human. I tried his entire Jets career to convince him to convert to linebacker. I have been proven to be uncomfortably historically correct.
I mean, listen, this is your big get. I mean, listen, I grew up with
I have never heard Gary hit these pitches before.
But every guy I grew up with is Gary. I mean, I could have gotten any Gary.
Lefko, listen, Lefko, you were nailing the interview, okay? But bringing in at the end a Gary, the Jets fan, you have soiled yourself. At the end of the interview, you've blown it. We're going to have to take on other auditions, other nominations. Gary, Lefko, thank you. It was good talking to you.
Thank you, Gary.
We are now going to...
Take care,
Gary, listen, don't be a failure. You're a smart, successful guy. Just never heard of you. I mean,
thank you, Lefko. We will talk to you. Good talking to you.
Dismiss the CEO of Resi.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you, guys. I love you a lot. Congratulations on everything. Keep kicking ass. You already have the universe, man. I'm excited to keep going. And I hope to hear from you soon. This was a very nice interview experience.
Well, congratulations on everything. We haven't done anything. I mean, we're not working for anyone. We got fired.
All we're doing
have not done that.
All we're doing is interviewing a Jets fan named Gary. That you promised us Kelsey and Mahomes, and you got. Thank you for being on with us, Lefko. Figure out if we're good with Wade or not, and bring him on tomorrow or something.
You got it.
Talk to Kylie for me. Thanks.
See you, Gary.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
I know that guy's like a very successful entrepreneur, and I know that you always see his videos like trending on the internet. Like, I know him to be like an extremely famous entrepreneur, like motivator, speaker guy.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we shouldn't have dismissed him.
Write the book on being Patrick Mahomes next time.
Oh,
exactly. Well, why? You guys feel like he could be like Mike? You feel like he could be a help to us?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think he knows the show and gets the show. Like,
he knows the show, gets the show, goes to Knicks games with Jamal Adams. Let's get in good with him.
Then he paid a nice compliment to us, and then we're just like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, but if he knows the show, then he knows what we're going to do. I mean, I think he's fine. I don't think.
I must admit, I was more happy to see a Gary in the Zoom than even Patrick Mahomes, just because I had Mel Brooks' see a Gary staring at me. I'm like, wow, this is perfect.
I mean, I was happy because I get to keep my job.
Do we believe that Adam Lefkoe actually takes notes watching Ernie Johnson? It sounds great. It's just what you say if you're Adam Lefkoe in that spot. And I believe he watches, and I believe he is trying to learn from Ernie. But do we believe he's physically taking notes, like he said?
Yes, Chris. Not everybody approaches things the same way. And Adam Lefkoe, like his takeaway from our show and what he learned from Dan, those are, I mean, number one, flattering to Dan, but tried and true observations one would take if they were truly studying why this show
You do realize
works.
why he's your age and where he is, right? Like he's really good at the stuff.
Okay.
The studying of stuff. Like he cares about it deeply, applies a professionalism to it that
I want to see those handwritten notes.
He's a different dude, Chris.
Right, I'm not certain, but I understand what Chris is saying. I don't think he's sitting there putting, like, pen to paper, jotting down notes. Here's
Way
what
to
Ernie
turn the
did.
camera
Stugotz, he's different. Stugotz, he's different. Do you see him? He definitely has a notepad, a full notepad of everything Ernie Johnson does.
I think he has a notes app on his phone, and he probably puts it there.
You know what's funny about what just happened there? And I'd be curious what's going to happen with our audience on this one, because some members of our audience are going to be super geeked out excited the way that Lefko was, that Gary the Jets fan was on with us. And I don't know how many more of those people are going to be like Stugotz and Billy and Chris. Who was that guy? One of the great entrepreneurs? Get me Travis Kelce. I believe, I don't know, Mike, which way do you think our audience is going to split on that? Because I do believe the next evolution of this show should be talking to people like that about their sports fandom and then wandering off and talking to them about the things that they're actually famous for. Because there are any number of people who have ended up near our show, weirdly, like George R.R. Martin, just because they have an interest in the silliness of sports, but it's a side hobby. They sort of dedicated themselves to sculpting a different skill, and they love sports as a hobby. So the idea, there's almost a feeling of envy among some of the people who end up near us where they're like, man, I would love to be doing that for a living, that my hobby for a living, as opposed to this unbelievably cool thing that I do for a living.
I need to reach out to Adam Lefkoe because I think he tried to put someone in our universe that might be able to help us. This is one of the world's foremost entrepreneurs, has a media division, Gary Vaynerchuk, and that's someone that could be useful to us and build out a relationship with. And when the story gets told about our show, it might be more influential than just having Travis Kelce on.
We called him Gary the Jets fan.
But Mahomes, Mike, I mean.
Well, I would say that we are the pirate ship filled with idiots. Like, look at Chris right now. Look at his face, how pleased he is that he's ignorant, basically.
What are you talking about? I'm the one who knew who Gary was. I love how you're putting this on me. You and Stugotz are the ones like, who's this Gary guy?
Well, I was going for the bit there. I was not
I
doing
still
what
don't
you
know
guys
who
were
Gary
doing.
is. I mean,
Let's just slow down. I mean, on this Gary's Twitter, and he sent you this wine text, and it has like 2,000 followers. So I mean, it's not this,
It is weird, though, that Lefko thought that our particular constituency would be more interested in Gary than Kelce or Wade. It was
that's a sell job by him. He was just totally selling because he couldn't get the other guys. So he's like, guys, I know you're going to love this. It's Gary. It's my friend Gary. Totally better than the athletes that said no. It's Gary.
Mike, can we get someone else here? Can we bring someone else here to audition or that we nominate to replace Stugotz as this show careens out of control and Stugotz may be fired by the end of the day, even though I don't know who would fire him.
right,
Would it be me?
I guess.
Would it be Skipper?
I don't know.
I read a Sports Business Journal thing that I think it's Skipper now.
So Skipper is progressive. Skipper is somebody who, for those of you who do not know, and this will be the only place that you get any information on all this stuff, because we do want an undistilled thing to arrive at the ears of our audience. Me and Skipper are not going to be doing any conversations with anyone elsewhere. We're going to talk directly to you about what our future holds and what it looks like. But Skipper, for those of you who do not know, in terms of what the history is, he put us on ESPN because as part of putting Jamel and Michael on the Six and as part of empowering minorities and women, it was important to him to get out of sort of the Bristol lifestyle of the way things had always been done and to empower some people with his privilege that did not have that kind of power. So, of course, he would gravitate toward helping me and us because I've been doing the job he hired me to do for 8 years at ESPN, which basically anything you guys saw in terms of talent curating that I was doing, I would tell you, the audience, that was the job. The reason Stugotz wasn't on Highly Questionable more, you'll notice that seat was always filled by somebody who was a woman or a minority or Hank Azaria. Like it was never anybody other than somebody being, I was reaching down and pulling them up so that they could have more power and influence at ESPN with the privilege that John Skipper had handed me.
One of these things is not like the other.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
And so Stugotz was hurt and frustrated
that was the reason.
by the fact that he was not. Well, what needs to be said on the front end is the only reason Highly Questionable exists is because Stugotz and Hawk were negotiating with the competing radio station. Like, the only reason I even went to Skipper to start a television show is because Stugotz was doing 2-a-days with Hawk and thought that that was the way to go. Like, that's the only reason that television show is even. I don't like television, Stugotz.
Right.
I did not. Do you know? Part of my relief over the last week is that I don't have to go and do any television. It was not something that I enjoyed. I shouldn't say I didn't enjoy what we were doing specifically, but the act of doing television is not this. It's not.
No, it's not. You don't have the freedom. It's not as liberating. It's not as enjoyable. It's more confining than doing radio or podcasting. But that explains Bomani. That explains Skipper saying to me upon meeting me that he wanted you to do the radio show with Bomani Jones. That was a nice first meeting. But it doesn't explain Hank Azaria. Explain that to me.
I wanted to start using comedians, and it was not something we were able to get off the ground. I had ideas, Stugotz, for what I wanted to do with that television show once my father left the television show. I actually wanted to make it a bit like The Daily Show for sports because our correspondents were so smart, and I thought that we could do something else with the evolution of that television show where we had, all of these people, Katie and Mina and Pablo and Bomani and Amin. And I wanted to do something that was a little larger than the reps. There's a bit of creative death involved, no matter how much fun you're having in doing the very same thing for 9 years. It's why most people leave Saturday Night Live after a couple of years. Our show, our radio show, this is quite the aberration in that it has evolved a number of different times and ways that has kept us entertained, and the relationships haven't become fractured. Because this is an absurd amount of time to do what we've been doing in a tight creative space. It is an unusual thing, but I think we should have some conversations, Mike, as we get nostalgic here and start talking about some of the history of the show, because so many of the people who are with us now are so new, Stugotz, that they might think I am kidding about the reason Highly Questionable exists. From your vantage point, what are you comfortable saying? Because I want to go at some point through our entire history and all of us talk about this stuff honestly, because I think our fan base, especially from the beginning, would love to hear about how this thing grew into what it grew into, specifically because Stugotz started a radio station. Stugotz met me at a coffee shop because he thought, okay, the newspaper columnist, Stugotz created a loaded lineup. I was laughing about this the other day, Stugotz.
Mm-hmm. It was a great lineup.
Well, but
I'm super proud of it.
But you should be proud of it, but I'm laughing that on the day we leave ESPN, that Boog Shambi was taking the job to universal applause in that market for that baseball team where they're like, yep, you're the best, dude. Like, yeah, no polarizing hire. Nope, you replaced Len Casper, who's been here for 16 years, and it's just applause from Theo Epstein and Eddie Vedder and everyone, these people who really love baseball saying, we just got the best. And you had those guys, you had Sedano, you had all of these people in a lineup that you created, and then tell the story of how it is that evolved into where it is that Highly Questionable ended up coming into the picture. By the way, everything that happened here strengthened my relationship with Stugotz. It's one of the many reasons that I value Stugotz more than just about anyone else, I think, values Stugotz in terms of what it is he brings to this radio show. And our relationship has survived what at the time was something that was hurtful, because that's where some of those relationships end up breaking apart. They're spinoffs. People go do their own thing. That's where I broke off from Tony and Mike, to create a highly questionable spinoff instead of doing Pardon the Interruption with them.
Right. I mean, the lineup was it was something I took a great amount of pride in, because it was a local lineup that to me felt like a national lineup, and I wanted talented people in there. All of it leading up to the big show, and the big show being Dan, because I produced Hank Goldberg's show, and Hank at the time had one of the most popular sports radio shows in the country, and certainly maybe the most popular, him and Neil Rogers, down here in Miami. But towards the end, Hank did his entire show on Dan and Dan's opinions and Dan's columns. And I didn't know Dan, but I thought to myself, hey, if Le Batard can piss this guy off so much on a daily basis, his opinions must be extraordinary. And so I started reading it, and I started reading you, and then Boog put us in touch because you and I had never met, and I would not have started that station without having you in Afternoon Drive. But that lineup felt like a national lineup, but it also felt like a lineup that really got and respected one another, where every show seemed to flow into the next, and everyone, for the most part, was pretty friendly, and that's always what I wanted to create, a lineup that kind of where all the hosts got along. There was a lot of cross-promotion, a lot of crossover, and then as it relates to the television show, I desperately wanted to be, you had created this radio family that I was not expecting, and it was me, and it was you, and then Mike came in, and Hawk was there, and Roy has been there basically since day one, and naturally when we were coming down here to do TV, it was something I thought I was going to be a part of, and a big part of, pretty much the same role that I play on the radio show, but it did not work out that way. I think in large part because the executive producer didn't want to drive to Miami. And so I have no problem saying that.
Well, that is a different conversation about whether we had a hard time, right? We had a hard time.
And to be honest, it still bothers me a little bit to this day that I was not a part of the show. But once I saw Bomani on that set with you and your dad, I was like, man, that guy's so much better than me.
Well, the skipper's first order of business was to try and create a radio show that was going to be me and Bomani and not you and me. And I think that is something that in the coming days I will be able to discuss with him for and with the audience, where we're able to talk about. I remember where I was when I got that phone call, because he's the most powerful man in sports and he's calling me and I'm not sure I want to go to ESPN. I'm not sure I want to do any of this stuff. And he's saying, I get one phone call at the end of negotiations. Dan, are you sure? Are you sure that you won't put Bomani in the place of Stugotz? And I'm like, I hadn't had that conversation with him to that point. That was just a conversation I was having with my agent. And I told him I can't and I won't do that. I won't. And it was a 30-second phone call. And I realized when it was done, oh my God, that was Stugotz being fired right there. That's where that would have ended up.
Yeah.
And
I learned about it in his office, face to face.
It would have been a lesser show. It would have been a different show. It would have been a very smart show, but I don't know if Bomani and I would have killed each other. Like, it would have tested our friendship in ways that I think would have been hard, and also it wouldn't have had the specific vibe that this show has, because, again, I really value, even though we're interviewing replacements today, Adam Lefkoe, and we've got another one coming up here that we're about to interview. I really do value Stugotz, but you're leaving out the part of what it is that you and that executive producer actually did that hurt my feelings, that ended up with me choosing television, even though I didn't want to do a television show.
Right. We were doing two-a-days. We were doing mornings. We were doing afternoons. Me and Hawk were doing during a Heat championship run, because Sedano had left and he had moved on to ESPN. And so we were doing two-a-days, two shows. Dan, unfortunately, and rightfully so, started to get annoyed that he was getting the exhausted parts of us. He was getting, I mean, I'm not great when, I have 12 hours of sleep and I've done nothing else leading up to the show. But now I'm doing 4 hours in the morning, waking up at 3:30 in the morning, taking a nap, coming back to do the show with Dan. It was totally unfair to Dan. He was not getting the best me. He was not getting the best Hawk. And then what ended up happening, and the reason Dan started thinking about TV and putting that show together without me, is because he thought perhaps maybe I would just stay in the mornings with Hawk, which is something that I was considering because the show had great success over
It was a
over
good
a
show.
2-month run.
It was a good show.
Over a 2-month run. But we also we were buoyed by the heat. So I was like, listen, for me, I didn't know if we were doing a good show or if the Heat were carrying us and we had these great, amazing numbers in morning drive. But once I really sat down and thought about it, it was kind of like, okay, you left to your own devices. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to sit next to this guy who's as good as anyone in our industry and see where that takes you? And to me, that was an obvious choice.
Mike,
sit next to you.
Chris is writing in here in the chat, can we call Skipper Skip? He's our manager. Do you think that's a good idea for Chris Cody to be calling our CEO
Yeah, go for it,
Skip?
kid.
Well, I mean, we had a meeting the other day. He's very friendly. Like, I just like, instead of like, hey, John or Mr. Skipper, like, what's up, Skip?
I just wouldn't call him.
Okay, well, hold on a second, Chris, because you haven't had this particular experience, because Stugotz just mentioned being in an office with Skipper. Mike and Stugotz and I went to that office in Bristol. Why don't you, Mike, tell people what that experience was for you two, so that Chris has an idea that this is not a person, no matter how friendly or charming he is, that you should be calling Skip.
I'll let Mike take it from here, but this man does not mince words. I mean,
He also has told me to call him John, and I just refuse. I'll never call him John. It's always going to be Mr. Skipper, and I'm always going to be apologizing for not calling him John. He's like, call me John. Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Skipper.
I mean, I'm sure Joe Torre had an aura about him as well and commanded respect, but I bet people still called him Skip.
First time I met Mr. Skipper in his office, there was all sorts of growing pains with this studio and confusion about what our show was, and things weren't working properly. He turned to me and said, what's going on with my studio? And I soiled myself and wanted to...
You guys look scared. Both of you. I remember you guys...
And I'm usually great in
I
those
know.
settings.
That's what was surprising to me.
I walked in there, the most confident man in the world.
The both of you looked so scared. I looked at my posse, my entourage, and both of you had shrunk to the size of a postage stamp.
Well, quite honestly, it was a disarming question, not one that I expected. I kind of felt like if there was someone in charge of that, Skipper would have known that person, but apparently not.
I mean, what'd you want us to do? How'd you want us to react? The first thing he says to Mike is, how's my studio doing? The first thing he says to me is, I wanted Dan doing the radio show with Bomani.
Yeah, it didn't go well for us. That meeting was not good for us, but you were having a ball, you two chums.
Right, and it started with a big hug between the two of you.
Oh, yeah.
And then just killed me and Mike.
You mentioned something here that is interesting as we wait here for
I love you, Mr. Skip.
Our next audition here. Mike, what can you tell people without telling people about who is the next person who's going to audition for the Stugotz role in the event that Mr. Skipper, or Skip as Chris likes to call him, ends up firing Stugotz for telling his wife to make him more sandwiches?
Well, I like playing a king of the mountain right now. We started with Lefko, but he got thrown off the top of the mountain by Gary the Jets fan. So I think right now, leader in the clubhouse is Gary the Jets fan. The next person is going to come for Gary the Jets fan and try to supplant him as a clubhouse leader in the Stugotz replacement. This person knows our show probably even better than Gary the Jets fan.
Well, what I like about this person that is now, and I don't think Stugotz knows who it is we're going to interview to replace him next, but the part that I'm excited about, Mike, I think the audience is going to be excited to hear this voice. Some of the audience isn't going to be excited to hear this voice and is going to wish this voice wasn't around us. But there is going to be a voice that appears here in moments that will be the first of its kind in this new pirate venture that we are doing. We are out there exposed right now. Our show is floating in open waters. There are no rules. There are no regulations. We're going to build this thing as we go. And before we get to this voice that I'm going to be excited to get to, because it's going to feel a little bit forbidden when this voice makes an appearance, I want to go back to something that Stugotz was saying about Hank Goldberg and Neil Rogers, because I want our show and everyone on our show, the Billy, Roy, Chris, Mike, to absorb this portion of where we are in the journey, because we have somehow managed through great fortune to be one step ahead of the awful crashing waves in industries, right? Newspapers died on me. I got out. Terrestrial radio became a problem. we're getting out. Just a little step ahead before everything closes down on us, because Neil Rogers was the most popular radio show in Miami for a long time and wasn't able to evolve. And when the next Measurements made an appearance, Stugotz, that moved from Diaries to elsewhere, Neil Rogers, who was doing a morning show from Toronto,
midday show,
making millions of dollars, not even in Miami, doing it by himself in Toronto. Then the ratings came out where the measurements were more accurate, and people realized he wasn't worth that, and his show immediately died.
Neil was so Arbitron, who used to handle the ratings, used to do it with books. They literally would send you, there would be trends, and then you would get a book every 3 months. And Neil Rogers really thrived under that system. I mean, he had some of the biggest numbers, meant 25 to 54.
In a day part that didn't even make any sense. People shouldn't have been listening to the radio 10 to 1.
He was on from 10 to 2. And so when you put up numbers like the numbers Neil was putting up, I mean, they will put you in morning or afternoon drive very, very quickly. But Neil, because he was getting those numbers,
could work wherever he wanted to.
He was like, hey, I'm going to work from Canada. I'm going to work half the year here, half the year in Florida. I have 15 shares. There ain't nothing you can do about it.
Okay, so this is the part, though, that I want Roy, Billy, Chris, and Mike, the specifics of this, to absorb. And those of you who have been with us since we started in Miami, who have been on this particular journey with us for close to 2 damn decades, okay? Neil Rogers and Hank Goldberg were unspeakably mean to me. Neil Rogers specifically, with an assortment of clear and obvious racism.
Big fine.
That's $5 fine for me because my phone is ringing.
Yep.
One of our executives doesn't know that I'm on the radio at 11 o'clock in the morning.
That's kind of concerning.
Yeah. So
is that Skip or
Skip? Yeah.
No, it's one of our other executives. We're going to have an assortment of announcements here over the course of the next 6 weeks. But I just want you guys to absorb joyously and emotionally the fact that when Stugotz came to me to start this radio station, the reason I wanted to do it is because these white dudes were being so bad to Hispanics in this market, where Neil Rogers would say things about, he should put a couple of medianoches underneath each arm and head back to Cuba. Like, it was just straight racism, and they were profiting off it. And I want you guys to absorb as the minorities, Billy, Roy, Mike, Chris, you're just nepotism. I want you guys to absorb, we win, dude. We've won. Like, the game is over. It's not just that we took over Miami. We, from that starting point of, I needed Skip's help to come and grab us and give us some of that privilege so that minorities could have power, so that we could elevate that power.
Cool. Super excited about everything. Can I ask Skip about health insurance or not?
What happened with you and Cobra the other day? It was a clean call for me. I just called Disney Benefits. I talked to Joe Sway, and I skated right through.
Joe Sway.
I've never heard that name before. Joe Sway.
Man, that sounds so soothing.
Yes, it was soothing.
I got someone that told me the exact opposite of what I was told for several weeks, so still working on it.
Yeah, same here.
I heard I have hub access still, and that ceased to exist about a week ago.
You have Joe Sway's number? I mean,
I sent it to you.
Yeah, he sent it to
day.
us. But see, he sent us a number that goes to a lot of people, not just Joe Sway.
You noticed that, right?
Yeah.
I sent you an extension.
Extension's not an option. Right. It's not an option.
No option. There was also one time that I called tech support just to see if they took your voice off of it, and not yet.
There is a situation here where are they ignoring our phone calls? Like, what is happening here?
No. ESPN has been very happy with the transition, but there's a lot of moving parts, and this was very clearly a top-line negotiation, and you were very clearly the priority, and, it's not unlike my 18 years with this show. There's pieces that need to be picked up.
Speaking of ESPN, I just got a text here from the producer of College Game Day. I told you they had big plans for me down here because the national championship game is tonight. They need an official pick from me by 1 o'clock Eastern because all their celebrity guest pickers have to make a pick on tonight's game. And they're not putting me on television, but they are simply asking me for my prediction before 1 o'clock tonight.
Your prediction should be stupidity Find on all platforms, Apple, Spotify, subscribe, rate, review.
That's why I brought it up here, because I would like to come up with something like that.
No, that's it. That's it right there.
Okay. Your prediction is stupidity.
Do this. Do some sort of prediction. Le Batard and Friends Podcast Network, Stupidity, Alabama 34-31, Mystery Crate.
Does anyone have a direct number for Josue? Question mark.
All right, Mike, let's set this up here for the audience here, because very soon in the Zoom, whether it's Travis Kelce or Dwyane Wade or Gary the Jets fan, or I don't want to tell people just yet. I want them to be excited by the big reveal. How many people on this in this conversation, Mike, know who is about to make an appearance to audition to replace Stugotz?
Well, you've been very mysterious. I think most people are assuming it to be Dan Rather because we had a guest request out for him. So no, it's not Dan Rather, although I would love for him to audition for the role.
Can we do this thing, since we're this pirate ship, where if we don't like the person auditioning, they have to walk the plank?
I love that. Theater of the mind.
We have that imaging.
Well, this person would be particularly perfect walking a plank and ending up submerged. This person would be, I think, in the history of our show, there has never been someone more equipped. Do you guys have a guess here? Someone more equipped to walk off a plank and end up submerged. Yes, Billy.
Well, no, if it's the person I'm thinking, the person could just enter the ship and just keep walking right off the plank.
Who are you thinking of?
But I don't want to ruin any surprises if it's who I'm thinking.
Is it Captain Slappy, the guy that we would always bring on for Talk Like a Pirate Day?
Do you have, let's empty that file. Do you have the Talk Like a Pirate? Let's empty the library, because we have all of our library. Poor Roy has been going through all of this stuff, trying to organize it. It is a job that is going to take an eternity, going through our library and finding all the Captain Slappies. So this is going back, I don't know, 15 years to International Talk Like a Pirate Day, where we went to some guy as our guest whose name was Captain Slappy and wasn't very good at talking like a pirate, I might add, and was just a random person who was coming on and doing a very poor pirate impersonation.
So I searched our J drive, which is where our library is, just Captain Slappy, and apparently we had Captain Slappy do a sports flash back in the 790 days.
Oh, no.
All right.
I got to hear it.
All right,
I have to hear
empty
it.
the library. Okay, so this is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And again, this is a guest we're having on who's just some random dude who likes pirates and does a very bad pirate impersonation.
Here's your sports flash from 790 The Ticket.
With Captain Slappy, inventor of Talk Like a Pirate Day. Arrgh.
So that was just the bed. I don't
It's
have
very
the
loud.
actual one.
I mean,
super loud.
you popped my face like I broke an orbital bone. That was unbelievably loud and overproduced as well, as an added bonus.
Everything on our show was.
It was. It really was. Totally overproduced. Let's see what else we find in the Captain Slappy file, because we really did obsess with piracy. You have a pirate already, Mike?
Whoa.
What do you mean you have a pirate already? All right, who's on the air here?
Ahoy, it's Captain Slappy.
Is this Chum Bucket?
No, it's not Chum Bucket, it's Captain Slappy.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said that already.
Hi, I'm live from Puntland.
This is one of those guys who created that National Pirate Day, Stugotz.
Yeah.
But this isn't
International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
No, yeah, I'm sorry.
Get it right there.
So how do you feel about pirates being in the news? What's your name, Captain Slappy?
Hi, it's Captain Slappy.
Okay, I'm sorry I forgot. I know you mentioned that already. So what how do you feel about pirates being in the news so much, Captain Slappy?
Well, I'm happy for it because it sells books.
He's an entrepreneur. This is not the kind of pirate I wanted on the line.
But it's the kind of pirate you ended up with. No,
It really is. It's really the kind of crappy pirate our show deserves, to be honest with you.
it's the kind of pirate you deserve.
I want a Somali pirate. All right, Captain Slappy. Thank you for being always so accessible. All right.
That was his whole game.
You know what? I remember what happened there. I remember we were fascinated by Somali pirates and the idea that in the that in this century we would find ourselves in a position where Somali pirates were actually, through their desperation, they were hijacking cruise ships. Isn't that how we developed a relationship with the aforementioned Dan Rather, who reported on it and then told us about Djibouti?
That is correct, Dan, and I can find that audio for you too. But playing back the Captain Slappy stuff, I realized that the OG pirate that we had on our show was Chum Bucket. And I have tracked down an interview that you did with Chum Bucket that's shorter than 3 minutes. So you want to relive your interview with old Chum Bucket?
These are very limited pirate impersonations these guys do.
Yeah, but Chum Bucket was the pirate you really wanted.
Okay, Chum Bucket. Let's talk to Chum Bucket.
Joining us now on 790 The Ticket. Let's make this quick because old Chum Bucket was dreadful last time he was on with us. He didn't sound anything like a pirate. Today is National Talk Like a Pirate Day. And now he's joined by some guy named Captain Slappy.
Damn it. It's got the Pirates of the Caribbean theme behind it. I can't use that.
Oh, man.
You can't.
That's unfortunate.
You can't. It's just the whole thing. The whole time it's got the Pirates of the Caribbean theme.
I mean, given how I know Hawk's production, possibly. Give me a second to listen offline.
We are moments removed from saying everything on our show was overproduced.
It was so overproduced. We were very heavy-handed with the production elements on this show.
You sound like an English guy with just trying to be an Irishman. But it's not an English-Irish pirate. It's Captain Slappy. Do all the other pirates make fun of how little Chum Bucket sounds like a pirate?
You're the only one that does that.
Okay. Well, you guys invented this crappy day, right?
We invented it, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
All right, but it is. And how does it actually get made National Talk Like a Pirate Day? Do you have to write to the government or something?
No, we had a little help from our friend Dave Barry.
Oh, so wait a minute. So Dave Barry but how does it become official? Dave Barry, the Miami Herald columnist, talked to you guys, and you made it national, but it's a national holiday. How does that happen?
It's an international holiday. It's been embraced by the entire planet.
Yeah. And so how does that work, though? Like, do you have, like, a plaque or something or a certificate that says that this is actually so?
Dan, what part of pirate don't you understand? We don't wait around for permission. We just do it.
Is that Chum Bucket? Like, because Chum Bucket, you could not sound any less like a pirate.
And you could not sound any less like an interesting personality, but you don't hear me complaining.
I want to talk to Captain Slappy.
Talk to me, Johnny boy.
Are you guys in the same place? Are you right now in the same place?
That we are.
Are you together?
We are in the same building, within about 8 feet of each other.
How are you dressed? Do you dress like pirates on this day? This is the happiest day of the year for you clowns, right?
We'll dress like pirates when we go out drinking tonight.
All right. Go do that now. Get out of here, both of you.
All right, we'll be going now. Visit our website, talklikeapirate.com.
All right. Who knew that pirates had websites?
I mean, listening back to that, Chum Bucket was right. I mean, they're pirates. They don't ask permission. You
enough.
wanted all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed. He's a pirate.
Have you guys done what needs to be done in terms of licensing, official government, or ordaining any of that? No, you're pirates. You do whatever you want. Mike, are you ready to unleash upon the audience? Are you ready? We are going to do this in seconds. We are going to unleash upon the audience a new applicant for the Stugotz position next. So over the years, you guys have probably noticed that whenever one of the ingredients is missing around here, the show is just a little bit different. It's rarely better. It's usually just a little bit different. And so when Stugotz is out, we might get somebody to play the Stugotz role, but it's not exactly the way Stugotz would do it. And if I'm out or Mike is out or Billy, Roy, Chris, anybody really, you can tell that there is something of a difference.
I just take phone calls.
One of the people, though, who has come in here and most successfully replaced Stugotz because he gets the show and he understands what we do around here. And right now, he is Renee Zellweger in Jerry Maguire. We are not allowed to have anyone from ESPN on. We have made some requests for people who are our friends. We have to make the requests as a courtesy to ESPN, and so far the answers have been no. But right now in the Zoom call, with a goldfish in his bag, having left his job to be the first one on the pirate ship, Amin Elhassan is with us because he wants to be around what it is that we're doing in this next incarnation. And Amin, we're having you on specifically because Stugotz has said some objectionable things. John Skipper has joined the company. Stugotz might be fired by the end of the show today, even though there are no rules. So welcome aboard the pirate ship, Amin. We are very happy. I don't know how much you can say or will say or are allowed to say, but you're doing a brave thing to come and support us and ride with us, basically sight unseen, because it's not like the company doesn't even exist yet. We're just floating in open waters. So can you take us through your process here on how it is you ended up here before we start interviewing you for replacing the Stugotz?
Yeah, I think the Jerry Maguire analogy is apt. You know, you got up and you stood up and you said, "Hey, I'm gone. Who's coming with me?" And everyone kind of turned around and just stared at you. And I said, "You know what? I will." And I stood up and I cleared out my desk kind of sheepishly in front of everyone looking at me like, "Are you nuts?" Including my parents, by the way. They were kind of they were like, "Wait, you're leaving ESPN for this man?" This is the same. You remember, Dan, a couple of years ago when I told you I'd been telling my father about what an influence you'd been and what a great kind of guiding light in my career you were, and then he watched an episode of Highly Questionable, and I can't remember what you had on, but you just looked ridiculous. And my father said, "This is the man who is your inspiration and your guiding light." I said, "Well, he's not always like that, man." So it's one of those things where I had a great time at ESPN. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working for the Walt Disney Company, as we all did, free Disney passes and going to Star Wars premieres and all that stuff. But the most fun I had was going to Miami to work with you guys. And I don't think I've ever told you this. This is the last serious thing I'm going to say before we can get into shenanigans. I don't think I've ever told you guys this, but on my original contract, I used to get paid per hour I was on radio whenever I was co-hosting a radio show. And I had to submit the slips. Say, hey, I did 2 hours on Izzy and Sedano's show, and I did an hour here with Brian Windhurst and Mark Stein. And I get paid for those hours. And the only radio show I never submitted slips for was you guys, because I was afraid that if I did too much, they would say, "Well, we're spending all this money for me to go to Miami," and they'd stop allowing me to be on. So I never entered those slips, and I never got paid for all those years I was doing the show. I say all that to say, back pay? Anybody?
Well, it's funny that you say that because it's interesting.
Sounds like you got used to working for free.
Yes, that's what we established the precedent, and now we're going to go on into the future with that as the precedent. You have negotiated your deal terms, and free is the way we're going. Freedom and just free. You get to be free, but you also are free. We are paying you nothing.
I mean, free, then I have no doubt that he's going to get the job because I ain't doing it for free.
Yeah, you're not doing it. I want to give some people some of the history here because, and I can't talk to Bomani about this on air, but I think Bomani did something similar where I don't think Bomani Jones ever collected any of the checks. I got to ask him. I've never asked him this. When he was doing Wednesdays with us on 790, the company was paying him, and I don't think that he ever cashed any of those checks for whatever it is that his reasons were. It wasn't because he had some principled reason for not cashing the checks, and he did not cash them. But what I wanted to tell people about specifically about Amin, it's in the context of everything we're talking about with Lefko and the doing of television. The things that I remember about my first conversations with Amin, Sedano sent him down, said, "You guys are going to love this guy. He fits with everything it is that you guys do. He has all the sensibilities that you guys have." And Amin came down here, and we went to dinner. And he was talking about just the general frustrations of walking out onto a television set and having to stand on a mark and then give the delivery of takes. And he didn't like the rigidity of that. And over wine and dinner one night, he just said flatly, this is very early, anything you guys are doing, red eyes I got to take, whatever hour in the morning, anything you guys are doing that needs me, I want to be a part of anything that you guys are doing. And look at him. He's the first one on the sinking ship. He's the first pirate on the sinking ship, proving it. Like saying, just wiped his hands and said, no, I'm done here. I'm going with those guys, wherever it is those guys go.
Well, then the news reports over the weekend must have been very reassuring, Amin.
Yeah, no, that definitely there was an element because I'm talking to Dan and I'm talking to Mike and they're saying we're building this thing. It's going to be great, but they can't give me any details. Zero details.
He knew nothing.
So part of me is I trust you guys. You guys are my friends. You would never steer me into something that was unsure. And then part of me was just like, are they really your friends? Are they all? Is there a little Stugotz in everybody where they're just, hey, buddy, you got to do this. This is great.
But, Amin, wait a minute. I mean, no one was selling you on this. You chose this. It's not like I was in your ear the whole time saying you got to come do this. You chose this.
I chose it, but it's based on my conversation with you.
Right.
Hey, is this a real thing? Because I want to be a part of it. And you said, yes, it is, but you didn't give me much detail outside of that. So even though I'm the one that approached, yes, you're right. There still is an element of trust that I'm throwing into this whole process.
If it makes you feel any better, I have less details than you do, Amin. Okay.
Stugotz. Me and Stugotz had the same agent. Lou?
And
I didn't get anything from Lou. Lou's my agent.
Yeah, Lou knows nothing.
I didn't get anything from Lou.
Lou doesn't know anything either. I had a conversation with Lou. I didn't want to be talking to Lou. That's not what I want to be doing with the next stage of my life is talking to agents.
Yeah, but my agent's concerned about me. He doesn't know you the way I know you.
Right.
We wanted to speak with you.
It's an unfortunate setup in that the person that's building our company has zero interest in running a company.
Wait a minute. I just got us a great white shark, though. Come on now. Come on.
Well, now I think we could all rest easy.
Come on.
But there was a lot of motivational platitudes being spoken and not a lot of, hey, who can answer my question here?
That's right. So, Amin, this is brave of you because people should probably know you didn't know shit, dude. You jumped off the cliff without knowing much of anything except you want to be around what we're doing.
Well, Dan, I don't know if you know this. You are one of the few humans on this earth who's ever seen me cry as an adult. You and Valerie, and so implicit in that, I think, is a level of trust that, all right, like this guy, whatever this guy is doing, I think I can go along with it, and I will sink with the ship. If the ship sinks, so be it. I feel confident in the decision that I made, knowing that whatever we do, whether it's successful or unsuccessful, it's going to be good content-wise. I want to make good content.
Well, we were talking earlier before you came on because Billy was saying in honor of the pirate ship, if you fail the audition to replace Stugotz, that we should have you walk an actual plank. And I was saying that in the history of our show, we've never had someone more qualified to walk a plank and fall into a body of water than you, the guy who on American Ninja Warrior still has the most viewed clip of all time. So if we were to be interviewing right now for replacing Stugotz, because he's just been fired by a guy that Chris very erroneously has decided to call Skip.
That's right.
If he is gone by the end of the day, what makes you qualified to replace Stugotz in the Stugotz role?
Well, this comes down to something very simple. The show is built on chemistry, right? You don't want to introduce an element that would upset the chemistry.
Yes, Billy.
Billy's got his hand up.
Well, that was an awful answer. I'm going to take over this part of your interview here. Adam Lefkoe was on before. He told us that he could potentially get Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce to join the show. He got some guy named Gary to come on the show. Mm-hmm. So who can you get to come on the show knowing Stugotz's most recent contribution was Aaron Rodgers?
Hold on, though. I mean, just so that you know, and we will get to that in a second, I love that as you're talking about the chemistry, that Billy fouled up the chemistry immediately by holding up a hand and just staring at everybody, wanting to talk but not saying anything. It was art.
As I was saying, the chemistry is more important than the flashy things. Oh, I got Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is not why this show is great. Aaron Rodgers is not why this show is great. This show is great because Stugotz is a grifter, because Stugotz cuts corners, and because Stugotz pisses Dan off.
Well, thank you.
I feel like I can accomplish all three of those things at a high efficiency level. And guess be damned.
He's right about that. So I guess what Billy was doing is he just wanted you to go into your phone and just call somebody to be on the Zoom, call a special celebrity in order to show off during your interview.
I think what Billy is saying is no one's ever going to be able to piss Dan off the way I am able to piss Dan off. It's a gift. I have a gift. I mean, I really piss him off. There are times where I don't think he wants to be around
Chris's dad does a good job of it, too. I need to stop enabling and employing these people. I really do.
So you'll never achieve those standards, I mean. So you have to bring a little something extra. And what Billy is suggesting is guest. And I'm telling you, Lefko tried to get Mahomes and Kelsey. He gave us Gary the Jet fan. The last contribution I had was Aaron Rodgers in terms of guest. Is there anyone you think maybe, perhaps, you could bring to the table today on the Zoom? I think that's where we're headed. Yeah, maybe Shaq, something.
Today, right now, no. I can't get Shaq, but maybe if you leave, I could get Shaq.
Oh, I see. How do you play?
In general, I can give you titans of the entertainment industry. Anyone could get an athlete. Oh, the guy threw a ball into a ring. Oh, I can get you the host of the Late Late Show. I can get you the star of Family Matters. I can get you the man who was the object of everyone's desire, and she's all that. I can get you all of these guys and more.
Yeah, we know who to go to if we want Freddie Prinze Jr. and Turtle from Entourage. I mean,
you're friend with James Corden?
Hey, man, look, I'm not naming names. I'm not a name dropper. I'm telling you, I can get you these people, though.
Well, why haven't you?
I mean, just out of curiosity, you're holding up the goldfish bag. You're on board. You're on the pirate ship.
Our Dorothy Boyd.
Do you know what you're doing for the new company? Because I don't know what the new company is, and I don't know yet what you're doing for it.
Holy shit, I'm scared.
I figured I'd just come hang out. Is that what you're paying me for? To just hang out and every once in a while ask me a basketball question and I'll give you a basketball answer and then go back to the shenanigans. Well, let's not overcomplicate this thing, guys. If it ain't broke, don't break it.
Mike, go ahead and play Amin Knows Basketball so we can ask him a handful of questions here. And I don't think has he succeeded, Billy, in his interview to replace Stugotz, or is this going to be? Are we going to have to continue the interview? We'll continue it tomorrow. We'll ask you back for a second interview since we can't get rid of you, and since you're a part of the new company, but we also don't know what the hell you're going to be doing yet for the new company. Let's play the Amin Knows Basketball song because this comes with us.
Time to talk basketball. Amin knows basketball. He'll teach you basketball. Expert in basketball.
I've got a basketball question for our basketball expert, Amin Elhassan. Amin, the NBA got all sorts of credit for what they did inside that bubble. They gave us a true NBA champion that outside of the premise, people weren't able to discredit because everybody had their players available. Now that they're outside of the bubble, teams are traveling, and you're having games canceled, and situations like last night where the Miami Heat can't field 8 players in uniform.
The Celtics.
No, the Miami Heat were the ones that actually undid it. That was a report because the Miami Heat, all of a sudden, because of contact tracing, because of their game with Washington, couldn't field 8 players. The Celtics were going to play that game with an abomination of a roster. Is the NBA now the worst league in handling the pandemic?
No, because they're taking all the right precautions and all the right steps in suspending these games. The reality is the NBA knew going into this that there were going to be positive tests, and there was going to come a time where we're going to have a rash of positives all across the league, and it's no mistake that this is happening a couple weeks after the holiday season. This is exactly when we thought this would hit. If you think about what happened nationally, early in after Memorial Day, a few weeks after that is when we got a spike. We get spikes after there are moments of great concentration of people. So we knew this would happen. But I will say this. The protocol for COVID for the NBA requires a contact tracing officer, a testing officer, a facility hygiene officer, a bunch of extra roles. And what most of the teams, if not all the teams, have done is take these roles and gone to someone who already has a full-time job and said, here, now you get to do this as well. I think that's a terrible mistake by the teams. I think these people are overworked. Many of them are athletic trainers. They're complaining about being overworked. They're complaining about being stressed because you get all these updates that come in 15-page memo form. And I think that's the one area where the NBA could do better. Also, I want to point out, the Disney company is world-renowned for never giving up IP, right? They never give up the rights to anything. Why did they let go of this? Why couldn't they kept that song? Could they just tuck that one away with the Whistle While You Work and all that stuff?
They said specifically, please take that song. We'll give you whatever
We don't want it. You can have all of your freedom and all of your intellectual property as long as you take this song off of our premises.
And him.
And we don't have to be linked, and preferably also him. What do you make of the Nets? I mean, tell me what you've seen from the Nets.
Well, obviously, when they're going offensively, they're amazing. They're incredible. They're deep, but defense needs work, absolutely. The big thing is when you talk about Kyrie Irving and his mercuriality, let's use that term instead of other harsher terms. This is why Steve Nash got that job. Because when you're dealing with someone like Kyrie, who is a very different dude, you have to have a different approach. And that approach has to come from some level of understanding. And I think of all the candidates who are available to the Nets, Steve Nash was the guy who most approximated someone who could understand where Kyrie's coming from. An example I give is during a time when it wasn't cool for athletes to speak out on social issues, Steve Nash spoke out on the Iraq War as the superstar, as an MVP of this league, and was very vocally against it. When not only among athletes, but nationally, the whole thing was, we all got to unify in this fight against terrorism. And Steve Nash was one of the few people, public figures, who said, no, this is wrong. This ain't right. And so fast forward to Kyrie and whatever he feels like he's doing for social justice in this country and the backlash that he's received and kind of however emotional he gets about things that are happening, Steve Nash is a guy who could sit with him and say, I know how you feel. I've been there before as the MVP of this league, but I also got through it and helped my team out. And so while this is a critical time, I think this is a time where Steve Nash is going to prove why he was the man for the job.
Do you think they end up trading LeVert for something they need?
That's a good question because
they kind of need LeVert, don't they? I mean,
what's that?
They kind of need LeVert based on the way, Kyrie's kind of in and out, not there. Man, Durant's missing.
He played 19 minutes the other day and had 7 turnovers.
But it's good to have LeVert there in the event those two don't play.
Yeah, I think that's the case, Stugotz. But a bigger thing is, Dan said, for what they need. If you tell me James Harden is what they need, I'm going to say I don't think they need that. It's nice to have James Harden, but they don't need that. What they need is someone who's going to make them better defensively.
I know we're 10 games in, but the Knicks are 5-5. They've lost 2 straight, which means which means at one point in they were 5-3, and that was really exciting.
Knicks question, really?
No, they're playing pretty good basketball.
Stop it, Jesus Christ!
I can't ask a Nick question.
No.
All right, forget it.
No, Stugotz. Perfect. This is the time to do it. 10 games from now, it'll be over. We'll be talking about the draft. We'll be talking about Cade Cunningham. Right now is the time, Stugotz, to ask all of your are the Knicks for real questions. Go.
I just want to know, was it as simple as getting someone in there, Tom Thibodeau, who holds his players accountable and runs them into the ground?
You think it's fixed?
I know we're in the playoffs right now, Dan.
Christ almighty.
6 seed. How about that?
Dan, you got to let him live right now. He's not going to be able to breathe in a week. No, here's the deal. There is a minimum amount of structure and order that Tom Thibodeau brings with him, right? As a dude who's coached for many, many years in this league and a respected voice. He walks in, he's not hemming and hawing. He knows exactly what he wants to do. And players are going to respond to that. But that's only going to take you so far. And now this is the part where, as we see, it's going to all fall apart. And again, in about 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about Jalen Green versus Cade Cunningham. You're going to be a draft expert all over again. But for now, Stugotz, you are firmly in the playoff picture. You embrace it, and you run that flag up the pole saying, yes, we can.
How about that?
Yeah, I love that with our newfound freedom, a week removed from ESPN, we're talking Jets and Knicks. Stugotz, all of his dreams are coming true, even as we try to replace him. Amin, we are happy to have you aboard, sir. Thank you for everything, but mostly thank you for your friendship, buddy. We are very happy to go on the next part of this journey with you. I know I saw all the smiles on the faces in the Zoom when you popped in. We love you, and we're very happy to have you with us, buddy.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm excited for this. Again, thank you for everything you've done for my career, Dan. And next time I'm here, I'll bring a black in my day with me. How about that?
Yes.
All right.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow, how about that?
And tell people where they can find your stuff so that they can find you doing the things that I assume you're now going to be, or I hope you're going to be making for us if we figure out what your job is.
Yes, at Darth Amin on all the socials. My big stuff that I'm doing right now is I've got Black Opinions Matter at BOMM. That's my podcast. It's my podcast network. I have a lot of great diverse voices there about issues from the Black perspective. And also Cinephobe, the podcast will review movies that are poorly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. Stugotz has been a guest. Roy Bellamy has been a guest. Me, Zach Harper, Anthony Mays. We take awful movies and we make chicken salad out of them.
Good talking to you, Amin, and good seeing you again. We look forward to this part of the journey, sir.